of all the mathematical mysteries hidden in the first verses of the Bible, this one has to be pretty near the top. It's quite amazing. We know that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Going back to the original language, Bereshit bara Elohim at Hashamim ve'at haaretz. And for John, en archi in hologos, kai hologos in pros ton theon, kai theos in hologos. Now, there is a formula, a secret formula, which was rediscovered by Vernon Jenkins, a very astute mathematician and a keen Christian evangelist. He found that when you multiply the letter values by the number of letters and divide it by the word values times the number of words, it creates a constant. Essentially, this is a simple formula of letter values divided by word values. Now, how does it work? Here is Genesis 1:1, the 7 words written vertically. And we need to count the words, 7 words, and count the letters. There are 28 letters. The value of the first word, Bereshit, we've got 2, 200, 1, 300, 10, and 400, giving a sum of 913, and a product is 48 with a whole lot of zeros. Now we can cancel the zeros because they just get out of control and they don't affect the answer because it is not dependent on the decimal place. Second word, 203 or 4 stroke 400. Third word, the name of God, 86 or 6. Et 401 or 4. The heavens, 395 or 24. That 407 or 24, and the earth, haaretz, 296 or 9. Now we have to multiply these together. So here are the letter values multiplied by the number of letters, in red, 28. Comes to 668 million, etc. The word values are 913 times 203, etc., times the number of words, and that comes to 2,129,074,680,489. Now the formula requires that we divide the first number, 668, by the second number, 212. And what do you think arrives? 3.14155, which everyone knows is pi. It's a tiny bit inaccurate. The true value starts 3.14159. However, that's correct to 5 decimal places, 99.999% accuracy. That cannot be a coincidence. But it does fly in the face of history. If we look at the story of pi, the first reference comes in an ancient Greek papyrus, the Rin papyrus, dating to the 2nd century BC, and it was a fraction that works out as 3.16. It's not bad, but it's not very good. The brilliant Greek mathematician Archimedes came up with 3.1418. And then we had to wait till after the Christian era for Ptolemy to come up with 3.1416. Not as accurate as Moses or the book of Genesis. It was only in the 5th century CE did a Chinese mathematician work out that the fraction of 355 divided by 113 produces the extremely accurate figure of 3.14159929. So Genesis was not bettered for at least 1,000 years, maybe 1,500 years. The modern figure is 3.141596, etc., etc. So that is quite remarkable. It changes the history books. But could this be a coincidence? Well, I don't think so. And neither does St. John, because something very, very interesting happens when we put the first verse of John through the same formula. We get a different constant, but let's see what happens. Here are the 17 words of John 1:1, and the number of letters is 52. Now at this point, if you look very closely at the second word, you'll see a little anomaly. Arche, beginning, I've written that as 5 letters. Why? Well, this word has some little squiggles on it, 3 squiggles. The last letter has a curly top and a little I underneath. These are what we call diacritical marks. And the little I is a iota subscript. And it marks a long diphthong, a double vowel sound. And it can come with an eta, an omega, or an alpha. And this signifies that in ancient Greek, these letters were pronounced as 2 sounds. For example, as eta iota or omega iota, alpha iota. So this was really effectively a double letter. It was 2 letters, and arche was pronounced and understood as a 5-letter word ending in iota. Now, St. John would have known all about this. It was commonly used in the Hellenistic period, and although they didn't have small letters, everything was capitalized, and the word arche would very often be written with 5 letters. It was only when the small letters came in a long time after the Christian era started that the iota subscript was added to the small eta to signify that it was always pronounced as a diphthong, a double vowel sound. So we are using this as a 5-letter word. And since John would have been familiar with this, I think that is perfectly legitimate. Remember that in Matthew 5:18 we find, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled." Well, jots and tittles are things like the dot on an I or a diacritical mark under an eta. They are critical to the gematria reading, and heaven forbid that they should ever be excised or cut off, because then the numerology will not work. So, first word sums to 55 or multiplies to 25 plus a 0. Okay, 719 and 48, 58 and 4, 77, 373, 882, 31, 2, 70, 7, 373, 882, 58 and 4, 450 and 112, Ton 420, 105, Theon, God, 134 or 1575, 31 and 2, 284 and 63, 58 and 4, 70, 373, 882. So There we have the product of the letter values on the right and the sum of the letter values on the left. So multiplying the letter values by the number of letters, 52, produces this number 4386, blah, blah, blah. Multiplying the word values by the number of words, 17, produces 16138, etc. Now that does look a little bit like phi, the golden section, 1.618, although it's not really accurate enough for me to get excited about. I don't think it's more than a coincidence. However, when we divide the 438 number by the 161 number, what comes? 2.71831. That is E, the Euler number, probably one of the four most important constants in all of mathematics, alongside pi. It is absolutely fundamental. And here it is, accurate to 5 decimal places, 99.999% accurate, just like pi was with Genesis. That is mind-blowing. What is E? Well, it is the basis of all natural logarithms. It is the basis of compound interest. The more frequently you update the compounding, the closer it approximates to E. The applications are enormous across all of mathematics, probability, stats, engineering, biology, thermodynamics, physics. It is used everywhere. But the first time it was alluded to in the modern era was by John Napier in 1618, when he was discussing logarithms. A little later, it was referred to by Bernoulli on his study about compound interest. Later, the great Leibniz wrote about it in around 1690, and it wasn't until the next century that Mr. Euler gave it the letter E in 1727 and announced this to the public in 1736. This is at least 1,600 years after John wrote his Gospel. So with one simple formula, basically letters divided by words, we find in Genesis, pi, in John, the Euler number, both correct to 5 decimal places. For the last 2,000 years, people have been reading these sentences, simple sentences, completely unaware of what they hide beneath by numerical means. When confronted by mysteries of this nature, one can take comfort in words of wisdom from the past. When confronted with a mystery like this, one can perhaps take comfort in the words of an old classic of literature, Book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come, with those that shall come after. Again, I would like to thank Vernon Jenkins, the mathematician who discovered these constants in Genesis and John. And you can get more information if you follow up those links in blue. Please click the like button if you've enjoyed this video and subscribe if you would like to see more like it. Thank you.